Hi, Matt.
Suraj, hi.
Yeah,
Good to
hi.
see you.
Thank you. Thanks for the time, Matt. Congratulations for the FinTech Festival, and I was at your booth there, and some of your digital banking initiatives, and your CIO was talking about Project Actuate. Very, very impressive, Matt.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it looks great, and there's a lot of work going on behind it. So that's kind of where the stress is right now. But we're very excited about what we're doing there.
How is your team and your systems, your processes? How are they aligned into that vision, and what kind of business challenges, technical challenges that you're facing today?
Okay, so it's a big question. We have a number of different things that we're looking at. So the idea around Project Actuate is to digitize as much of the revenue streams that the traditional bank actually operates, right? So how can we optimize branches and help people get access to the information and their funds faster and help to generate loans? How can we revolutionize the way people engage with the bank through mobile platforms? A whole range of different things. The whole organization's behind it, right? So this is not just a technical challenge, but it's a business challenge, right? People need to change mindsets. And what that really means for me, sort of running the data center and the team that's operating, is that we're certainly getting a lot more pressure from the business to be able to go ahead and deliver on some of these things. They have timelines and deadlines that they need to go ahead and deliver projects and proofs of concepts. But our challenge is kind of we're resource constrained and somewhat technology constrained.
Not able to deliver projects on time.
Well, it's all the challenge we find here is that I have a great team, right? They're fantastic at what they do, but we typically have people who are specialists in a number of different areas. And to get someone who can help us go and do the provisioning of certain things like, say, a virtual machine, there's one or two guys that are really, really good at that. And there's a lot of infrastructure that goes on behind that, right? You guys are aware of that. If everyone's asking for that at the same time, I can't scale that one guy, and I can't afford to take on more people and even find the right people. That will just delay all the projects. So I have good resources, they have skills, but they don't scale. That's a big challenge for us right now.
How about new technologies or new trends, like moving some of your infrastructure workloads to cloud? Is there any plan for moving into cloud as well? Or?
There is a strategy to move to cloud. They're looking at it from a point of view of, is it going to be faster to provision that infrastructure? Is it faster for us to go and actually build the applications? I mean, we're bought into DevOps and trying to look at that, fail fast, fail early type of approach so we can get the best amount of value. But of course, we sort of think about where do we put everything, right? And we're looking at AWS, looking at Azure, lots of different options right now, and they're pretty compelling.
Have you thought about the data sovereignty, the data security, privacy? Do you have any concerns around that one, Matt?
That is something which is a challenge. I think sometimes what we typically see, the business rushes ahead and they want to go and use these great new capabilities, and they hear the marketing from Amazon and from Microsoft. I mean, these are big names. They're consumer brands as well as infrastructure brands. They may not be aware so much of the risk that the organization is put under if they go ahead and suddenly push all their data out to a cloud. If it's private data, if it's publicly accessible data, they can't tell the difference. Data to them is data. So that's the risk that we're looking at right now, and that's why it's making our approach a little bit challenging.
Just to give you my perspective, that today 62% of world's workloads have already moved into some form, have already started moving into cloud, right? While a lot of customers are looking at cloud, increasingly customers are looking at multi-cloud strategy or hybrid cloud strategy, right? That's primarily because of this data challenges and which workloads can go there, the speed, the innovation, the controls of the data, and the performance of the workloads as well. So, do you have any plans to build a hybrid cloud kind of environment?
We've heard the hybrid cloud story a few times from a number of different vendors. It sounds compelling. But again, my concern is the simplicity around that. How quickly can we go ahead and get that set up when it comes to provisioning new workloads? How easy is that going to be? The Amazon promise and the Azure promise is, bang, here's the interface, this is what I need, and it's done, right? Whereas trying to do that inside, I'm kind of reliant on people to be able to do that. So that's a challenge, and that's why the business likes the idea of going to Azure and Amazon Web Services because they don't have to worry about the resources, they just need to choose what they need.
Yeah. So that brings to some of the work that we have done, similar challenges, Matt. So we worked with another financial services organization like yours where we help them to modernize their data centers, typically getting their workloads deployed in the right systems, tightly integrated and agile, and then at the same time also enable the organization to be cloud ready. Pretty interesting work where we help the customer to almost minimize their operational cost by almost 40%, and also help them to move a private cloud kind of environment in their infrastructure. And very interesting outcomes from that particular project that we have done with this customer. I would be happy to share that information with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in hearing about this 40% operational savings. I mean, this is something where I wouldn't sort of look at it as giving that money back to the organisation, but how can I reinvest that in the organisation to help address some of these challenges? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we call this as data center modernization and cloud technologies that we're bringing in. I'm not sure if you're completely aware of what Vidash is doing in that space.
No, well, I've heard many vendors talk about it. What would be interesting is trying to understand how you guys do it and what that differentiation looks like.
Yeah. So let me just take 2 minutes and explain that how the approach that we're taking here is one, to build, to get yourself ready in the new digital transformation, the new digital world. It's very important that you have a very agile and integrated data center, right? Infrastructure. You can call data center or data infrastructure where you can actually have all your systems tightly integrated and very agile. You can store, you can protect, you can actually manage those data very well. It's also very important that you provide data protection, data security, data privacy services to that. So we call it as modern data protection services. And then increasingly, we're also looking a lot of requests coming from customer in terms of visibility, right? What's going on in my data center? How can I take steps before anything happens in my data center? How can I predict my growth? So we call it as data center analytics. So the 3 pillars that we take in the data center modernization is build an agile integrated infrastructure, bring modern data protection services, and then bring the data center analytics, all tightly integrated to help you modernize your data center and get yourself cloud ready as well. So that's the approach that we are taking.
Okay. Well, it sounds interesting.
Maybe if I can just use a board and
Please.
write for you, that helps you.
That'd be awesome.
So we call this the first pillar. That let's say the infrastructure, right? This is the core infrastructure we're talking about to help you data center. So we call it as infrastructure of your choice. What I mean by that is, Matt, so you've been using our VSP storage platforms for a long time. So I've launched our new Panama 2, some new offerings, are pretty exciting stuff out there, so you can have a look at that. So let's say you got all our storage platforms. Increasingly, customers' data is growing in the unstructured data space. Like today, the world's data is like 70% of the world's data or 80% of the world's data is unstructured data. And the other one is a structured data, which typically is lying in part of your applications and databases, right? So we have solutions to help you with your object storage. We call it as object storage platforms. Then we also have launched our converged systems, which is part of our converged infrastructure, hyper-converged infrastructure, and rack scale solution. This is all our converged platforms, where we bring the server infrastructure, the storage infrastructure, tightly integrated with the network and actually build your converged infrastructure. Hyper-converged, everything is part of the appliance, right? Rack scale is a pre-built, pre-engineered system. So we launched all of this. I don't think we have spent much time on this in the past, but I can give you some more information. You have a lot of choice to make here, right? And then this all needs to can be an on-prem solution or should also be integrated into cloud, right? Let me take another step.
Well, when you say cloud, who are we talking about here? Is this?
So we can work with AWS, we can work with Google, we can talk about IBM Cloud, Azure, so we can pretty much integrate the infrastructure to any cloud vendors. And how we do that? The question would be, hey, this is physical infrastructure, you're talking about on-premise, how do I do a cloud integration, right? So as you know, this is a very core important layer, which is all the physical infrastructure, but the story doesn't stop there. What we do here is increasingly data centers are becoming software-defined infrastructures, right? So this is where software plays a very, very important role. So this is software-defined infrastructure. As part of this layer, we bring partnerships, technology partnerships. We bring partnership with VMware. Most of our virtualization, whether that is software-defined compute, you're not new to VMware. I think 80% of your workloads today are already running on VMware environment in virtual machines. Now we're talking about software-defined storage, software-defined network, bring cloud automation tools, all of them as part of the stack called software-defined data center. So that's the offering that VMware has it. We are the global OEM partner for VMware, and the partnership goes much beyond just software running on the infrastructure. There's a lot of engineering integration happening between Hitachi's IP, VMware IP, running on Hitachi infrastructure and bringing the whole solution to you. So we have a very strategic partnership with VMware, and that's mainly on the virtualization, right? Or let's say cloud. So when it comes to virtualization and cloud, the main partnership that we bring is VMware. They're the market leaders in that space. When it comes to bare metal software, you name it, we support Windows, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, VMware ESXi, any application that runs on bare metal can run on the infrastructure below as well. So that's another one. And then the new ones, which is the DevOps. I'm sure in the bank you have a lot of DevOps team which are actually building those applications in the container platforms today. So we have solutions for DevOps and containers, and which is basically we support Red Hat OpenShift, Kubernetes, Dockers, Mesos. So a lot of those are all tightly integrated to run on the infrastructure. So what I'm saying here is, Matt, you got the infrastructure of your choice: storage, object store, server platforms, compute platforms, software-defined infrastructure. This is where we bring the technology partnerships, and then you add the management layer, which is where we talk about, let's say this is the management layer, where we bring in the complete lifecycle management, right? So automation, which includes things like provisioning, all of that, firmwares, inventory stuff. Then we talk about orchestration, where you can automate a lot of this environment by doing templates, workflows, so that you can do a quick rollout of the infrastructure. So automation, orchestration, data protection services. Let me put a short form here. It's called data protection services. And finally, our data center analytics platforms, which will help you to really monitor your data center, get dashboards, get visibility what's happening, do some self-healing capabilities. These are all based on AI machine learning technologies, right?
So let me just quickly jump in here. This is not terribly dissimilar to what we've heard from, say, a Dell EMC, right? They talk about their partnership with VMware. They have these tools. I mean, what is it that's really different here? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. I mean, let me put it into perspective.
Yeah.
We don't have a single vendor strategy. We do that from a protection point of view, right? So we're able to source from different vendors.
So when you say you don't have a no single vendor policy, is that mainly because of what reason you have the no single vendor policy?
Well, we want to be able to, in case something happens with the vendor, right? So
you don't want to depend all the entire roadmap on one vendor, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I wasn't going to bring it up, but let me ask the question. I have a colleague who had utilized some of your technology in the past, blade technology.
Compute blades?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they were told there's no more blades, and they had to shift everything to rack. Now, we don't have that situation, but where's the protection for me if I invest with Hitachi that you guys aren't going to say, okay, well, we're not doing rack anymore, we're doing diamond-shaped servers, whatever the next generation actually is. I have to think about long-term execution of my infrastructure, right? Swapping things in and out. We're not a startup. We want to behave like a startup, but we have very traditional infrastructure needs, right? So working with Hitachi, what is the protection I actually have that's not going to happen?
What is unique about Hitachi is we taking the entire approach is not by coming with the infrastructure and try to fit everything, right? We are looking at your applications. Now, the way that we take it here is, this is very, very important because a lot of times the solution providers start coming from here, but we come from here. So this could be your Microsoft applications. It could be any business applications like SAP, Oracle. It could be VMware-based applications, anything that can be virtualized. And then next generation, like in your banking, you have things like AI. You want to have blockchain. A lot of new next-gen platforms, right? Cloud-native applications like cloud native, where you are bringing all your digital initiatives, right? What we will actually approach and why we are different is we start with the application requirements, right? And then see what is your automation orchestration requirements are, whether you want to run on a virtualized environment, bare metal, whether you're looking at a container platform, and what is the right infrastructure to actually port that application on. If you're looking at on-prem or you want to do cloud, yes, that's ready as well. And you say, Suresh, everything is good. Can you do me an utility-based licensing or pay-per-use model? We can do that as well, Matt. So the key differences is the application-centric approach. Infrastructure, you can choose what is best suited. We are not a vendor come and say, just go with everything with hyper-converged. By the way, you know what? We can actually combine the converged hyper-converged as well, so that you can go your applications on hyper-converged, but you can blend it with your existing storage. We call it as hybrid converged environment. So we are a little bit unique in that position. The second point you raised is, why should I put everything on Hitachi? I'm risking myself on a single vendor, right? To be honest, when you carefully look at the infrastructure, while we become your single vendor to manage your, you become your solution provider, a single solution provider, you are actually not just betting on Hitachi technologies. We increasingly believe in the ecosystem. Look at this layer. In VMware, Red Hat, Microsoft, some of these technologies we support. So you're pretty much not relying on one vendor here, right? So though we become a solution provider, but from a vendor partnership, we bring a lot of vendor partnerships over here. Applications. I mean, this is most important. Are you betting all your application on vendor? No, we support any application that you're looking at, right? Infrastructure as well. This can be entirely Hitachi, or if you want to have a heterogeneous environment, you can do that as well. It's not like we are locking down the entire infra only on one, and that's how it has to work. So,
I think I get it.
Yeah, but one thing I want to clarify, yes, we have stopped selling compute blades, but not stopped supporting them. So we are supporting them for the next 5 years. So till 2023, we're going to support. We help those customers to transition, give them the latest OS upgrades and all of that, and make their environments run smoothly for the next 4 years. The question why we stopped selling some compute blades and that affect some customers, yes, it does affect some customers. The reason is having a proprietary hardware technologies like LPower and all of that in the new world is not the right thing, right? So because everything is becoming software defined. So that's why as a company the strategic decision is to move into all these rack server based next generation Intel platforms and enable the software defined layer on top and then support a lot of your applications. So this is more towards the direction that the market is going.
What's the approach in terms of trying to work with? I mean, we have our own projects which are very business focused, and you're looking at this from a very technology focus.
Yeah.
Are you able to sort of help me connect the dots on this one? Or how have you done this with other customers?
So what we have done with other customers, where we help them to really build this and save a lot of costs and new innovation, we started the project something like running a value discovery workshop. And this is basically our solution experts together with some of our partner solution experts, because that customer's environment was predominantly running on VMware environment. So VMware is our global OEM partner and we work very closely. So we actually bring in VMware experts, our expertise. We went to the customer, bring all the teams, the security team, the IT team, the infrastructure, the storage, all the teams together, and we ran a 2 to 3 hours kind of workshop just to open up, just take a step back and really look at what are all the technology problems are, right? From infrastructure, automation, security, branch modernization, everything covered, right? and then started capturing them as part of the business problems, technology problems, and how do we approach that? Because this all looks great. I can't do it in day one, right? So it takes time, and what can be done immediately in a short. So it takes time, and what can be done immediately in a short term, mid term, long term. What are the priorities? So we actually build the whole value discovery workshop, captured everything, prepare the phase-wise approach, and not necessarily technology discussions much. It's more about the approach strategy, and then decide what technologies are rightly suited for your environment. So this is an approach we have taken with customers.
It's interesting. I mean, we are under pressure to deliver on what we're trying to do from Project Actuate, but this, I mean, how long are we talking about for the workshop?
This is just like half a day. We can do it at your place, and or we can actually take an off-site location. Bring the people together, right? All your specialists from your teams, different teams. I definitely want your apps team and your network team, security team. Bring them together. Bring experts. Brainstorm in the room. There's no cost involved. We're all in the NDA, so we can pretty much work with what you can share, what you can share, right? So. And then put all that information together, capture it, document it. Then we go back, do a couple of brainstorming sessions, and then build a roadmap and come back and present to you again. Once you like the roadmap, maybe we can take it to your CIO and get his endorsement and support as well. And then we can define the projects after that and see what technologies and all of that. And then eventually come out some budgetary proposals as well, because end of the day you have to put it into your planning exercise, Matt. Is that interesting?
It is. Okay, let me work with the guys in the team and see if we can try and align some dates on this one, and maybe we can try and go ahead and do it. I mean, what you've explained kind of makes sense. I think we need to go down to that next level with the team and sort of make sure that they're across as well.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you've called out some important things here. I mean, especially talk about management, right? Automation, orchestration. Like you talked about our resource challenges. That sounds like something's going to help us out. And if we can start trying to address things like cloud as well pretty quickly, that's going to be useful. So let's go ahead and do it and see where we go.
Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'm going to send some of this over email as well and send you the